I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpm.fm to discover more.
Hi, I'm Cassie Silva. Welcome to the Theater Podcast with Alan Seals.
Welcome back to the Theater Podcast, everyone. I'm Alan Seals, and today's guest is pure joy in human form. Cassie Silva joins me for an incredible conversation full of surprises, like that she went over to London alone on a whim and had a total life-affirming moment watching Juliet on the West End, and now, just a couple of years later, would be starring in it on Broadway after becoming a Universal Swing for 6? Come on. We even dive into her real raw experience as a teenager on MTV's Legally Blonde, The Search for Elle Woods, and she shares some stories about that experience that she's actually never talked about publicly before. This episode is packed with heart and humor and the kind of candid honesty that makes you remember why you fell in love with theater in the first place. But don't forget to follow me on social media and head over to Patreon for the full video version of this chat. You are not going to want to miss it. Cassie is so animated. This episode is recorded live in the studio, powered by welcometotimesquare.com, the billboard that lets you be a star for a day. So head over to welcometotimesquare.com right now and check that out. And now this episode is going to kick into a conversation Cassie and I were already having long before I officially started the episode, after she made an unexpected charcuterie reference. Is it charcuterie? Charcuterie? You decide. I don't know. Here's the story. Here's the conversation.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
I did this show called Six the Musicale. And same. And we love Drag Race. Mm-hmm. So we would get together on Friday evenings on tour and we would watch Drag Race. I tell you this because we called ourselves the charcuteries. So much, in fact, that I actually have a charcuterie board that is all like different colors of the queen confetti into like an acrylic like board, and it says charcuteries.
Charcuteries.
Aww. And so I just go with it now. Just is what it is.
See, now it's like stuck. It's ingrained in your brain, so you like forgot that you were saying it differently.
Yeah,
I get that. That's
charcuterie.
You've created your own Mandela effect.
Exactly. Am I here? Am I not? Am I here again? And that's the question. Right. Yes, okay. Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Well, then
I want charcuterie.
You're welcome to. Okay, so you're welcome to lean back, move the mic a little closer if you are. But you should be like sort of like a hang ten away if you can.
Okay.
And I actually have an intro. I'm gonna cut that in because that's important.
I'm so glad. I'll have to send you pictures of the board.
The Shaka Charcuterie board.
The Shaka Charcuterie board. The Shaka Shimmy Charcuterie board.
Something or other.
Exactly. Do I get to do the line?
Which one?
Where I'm like, I'm Cassie Silva, and this is the Theater Podcast.
Yeah, that's
one. What is it, though?
I'm Cassie Silva, and you're listening to the Theater Podcast with Alan Seals. We always do it at the end, but you're welcome to start with it.
No, because listen,
I can tell you're a listener.
No, I am.
I'm flattered.
Of course I am. Oh my gosh, I'm in theater. Sorry, I'm screaming. It's so early.
Warm up that vote.
No, because you know what? I will tell you. Now, wait. Do you want me to say this in our interview, or are you recording? Because
we've been recording. Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
I would assume because you're so good. You are literally like one of the ultimate best top. Like you've given Broadway like a voice for like everyone. Because listen.
Oh, stop.
No, I mean no. Listen, dead ass. Well, I know you from Rock of Ages.
Yeah.
Doing our, I want to say
Talk.
interview, but our Google Talk.
The Talks at Google event.
Listen.
In 2017, 16?
But I look the same.
You totally do.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You look the same as 19-year-old you who was on Elle Woods, too. We're going to get into that. Search for Elle Woods.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
You know what? I don't know that I've really ever talked about the show, but now
we will.
You're getting a full exclusive. You can ask me anything about Legally Blonde these days. My therapist will be thrilled about it.
Okay, We'll get there. All right. So go back to telling me how great I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to telling you how great you are.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the ways that I learned about musical theater in general, aside from just like growing up in dance and being exposed to the music and soundtracks and medleys of things as like ballet dances for the recital or whatever, was that I listened to the American Theater Wing podcast. And I grew up in LA, so I drove. And so, you would plug in your aux into your phone, and I would listen to those interviews.
This is pre-Bluetooth invention, folks. Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
And now those are like vintage interviews, but we're talking like, PBS. This is back in the day when you would watch like the PBS version of like Mandy Patinkin and Bernadette Peters doing Sunday in the Park with George on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was part of how I learned about theater and like the business and the lifestyle and all of that. And so I went looking for it later, and there really wasn't anything. And, like for a point in time, for like literally a blink of an eye, I had a Broadway podcast.
Really?
Really?
I'm going to listen to this. You have to send me.
I don't know that it's even still like available anywhere, but I do have such a great...
Remember how I type?
I know I did typey cat for you.
Yeah. Shit posting time. Okay. Cassie Silva.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it was called the BE Way, about like the health and lifestyle of being on Broadway. Wow, I'm really getting smelly cat. I have bronchitis right now.
Okay.
Can you hear it? I'm like, smelly cat.
No, but
cat. Okay, great. Well, wonderful. If I cough, you'll have to cut it out because it's not charcuterie.
I'm gonna loop the cough and turn it into a beat. Like,
amazing. Yeah. No, I go from charcuterie to broncutie. That's what I've been calling myself in the building. No, but your podcast, I mean, like your interviews, what I really, really love about them, and I'm not just saying this, I really believe it, is that you really ask good questions, like decent questions. And we actually get insight and information, knowing people that you have interviewed, like on a personal level.
Yeah.
I listen to the information that you get them to share, and it's such quality. And so for that reason, then it, as an arts educator, which is my second passion in life, who knew, is that then it gives us resources, right? For people that actually like, I love to say that it's my dream to help people build bridges to Broadway. And so it's so nice to have really legitimate resources. That's not fluff.
Aww.
You know what I mean? And especially if I go and like...
I'm really bad with compliments right now.
Okay.
Just in general.
I know.
But anyway.
Should we hide? Should we silent scream? Not me snorting. I said, making sure I'm awake. No, well, I guess how do we even get on this? But I'm so grateful. And you're like, do you want to be on this podcast? And I was like, am I allowed to do that? Like, I have nothing really to say other than I'm such a fan, and I'm so happy to be here because I think that the work that you have put into our community over time, right? Because now it's been like how
6
many
years almost.
So many.
Yeah.
Like, and pandemic time, like coming back from it, the access to all of the changes that's happening within our community, not only on a personal level, like how do I live the day to day within this industry, but also business wise, like what does it look like these days? I think that it's really hard to find good material and good people too, to share that material, to legitimize it. And I think that takes a really special person.
Thank you.
Wow, I didn't know we were going there. I'm going to drink more coffee.
Wow. I saw a post, something. I've been following you on Instagram and just enthralled with everything you.
LOL.
Since we met, almost a decade ago.
100.
And you look the same, exactly the same. So
thank you so much. It's the Botox.
Sure. Is it? Do you get Botox?
A little.
I'm afraid.
A pinch.
I'm afraid because if I go down that path.
Yeah. It's a slippery slope.
Right.
But the thing is that you have to have good people. Again,
I can't tell. I'm looking.
Thank you so much. You have to have good people that will be like, no, you don't need a liquid rhinoplasty.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like...
as opposed to a solid rhinoplasty?
Yeah, it's like, like a filler nose job, if you will.
Oh, okay.
We are laughing. Correct, like the button nose. Exactly, correct.
Okay.
But after so many years of like squishing and pulling my face, growing up in the business, like by the time that I, hit my mid-20s, and I was late. Like now you do like preventative Botox. I am so lame. I'm so like behind the times. I should have evidently started it when I was 16 years old, but
no.
I know, crazy,
do
right?
Not endorse.
I don't even know that it was around when I was 16 years old, but, But no, it certainly helped, especially with the TV film medium. Isn't that wild? I only care if there's legitimate reasons, logical reasons where people are like, oh, you can actually capitalize on this within your employment. I was like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, shoot this into my face.
It's a business write-off. Yeah.
Also, my 11s, you want to talk about Legally Blonde trauma. The 11s are the two,
oh, right.
The avenue in between. I wish, this is
don't
good.
Look at mine.
Don't look at me. Right. No, just so much trauma. And I was always like this. And so I was like, you know what? When I'm old enough, I'm going to get Botox in my 11s as a gift to my inner child. Yeah, when I'm adulting full time. I bought a vacuum. Not even 48 hours ago did this show up on my doorstep. And the way I squealed with glee was concerning. It was concerning.
What kind, did you get the Dyson? The big... What?
I know I should.
Is this a sore spot?
I didn't get... Now listen, I want the Dyson. I really do. I believe in it. I've researched it.
I have one and I like it. It's heavy.
Well, tell us.
It works heavy. The best. Yeah, but if you have to take it up and down levels, it's a little bit clunky. That's my review.
Okay.
But if you have,
so you're saying you have levels?
I'm saying yes. I have steps.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
If you have to take it up, and down steps, it's a little clunky. It's hard, but this.
Yeah.
I'm just I have to take it up and go
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow, that pointer finger looks strong.
Because it's from all the shit posting. From all the shit posting.
What shit are you posting these days? What shit are you posting about me these days?
Nothing. I'm like, don't I?
Because there's nothing to post.
This is what. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to talking about you for a second.
Okay, sorry.
I've been following you forever since we met.
Yeah.
And then I've wanted to have you on forever, and I don't want to be like that guy who's just like, hey, let's have an excuse to hang out or something.
No, please. I love it. Well, we can hang.
Okay, so here we are.
Here we are.
We're hanging out. And then, so anyway.
It's so monumental that we have to record it.
Should I actually start the episode?
Has it not begun?
Well, not officially. Because I have an intro.
Oh.
And then we'll go back to talking about shit.
All right, let's go. But first I have to spin in the chair.
Okay. Wee. Watch the chorus.
I know. I already knew it, which meant that I have to go back.
Well, now you get to spin twice.
Yeah.
You have to.
I have to? So I'm going this. Oh, this is. And you know what? And this is the way it goes.
Uh-oh. Hold on. I have to point you. Here we go.
Excellent news.
There we go.
A round of applause. Okay.
All right.
Let's wrap this mother up.
And this is all the time we've got. Today's guest has a career spanning film, television, and theater after beginning her professional journey at the age of 5. After being featured in a national Jell-O commercial, she gained recognition portraying Brenda in the film adaptation of Hairspray while also competing on MTV's Legally Blonde, the musical Search for Elle Woods. Her Broadway debut came with Rock of Ages, with further credits including Matilda the musical on Broadway and the first national tour. She joined the North American Aragon Tour of 6, the musical, and later became the Universal alternate for the show's Broadway and North American touring productions, covering all 6 roles. She's also passionate about teaching, having served as an acting and dance coach throughout the years, and was the artistic director of Studio Collective for the Performing Arts in LA from 2017 to 2022, and can now be seen on the Broadways in And Juliet. Cassie Silva, we've already been chatting for a bajillion minutes, but welcome to the Theater Podcast.
Thank you so much. What a joy and an honor to be here. I know, we could just talk for hours.
I know, we need to hang out and get a coffee after or something.
Listen, it's always coffee time.
So can we go back to something that I was like, let's save it for the podcast. But the podcast was just happening.
Which part?
The Legally Blonde bit.
Oh, we're going straight into...
that has been eating at my little brain for minutes since you said that.
What really is there to say? Because there's just so much.
You were 19.
I was just a little baby.
And I know that because they zoomed in on your face and said, "Hi, I'm Cassie Silva. I'm 19 and I'm from Los Angeles."
Bless. Just baby. I feel like one of the greatest misconceptions that people have about that show and me on it was how impressionable and young I was. I think I had done Hairspray at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never really done an onstage production. in musicals. I say the like joke of it because of course now I'm like rehearsed into the things that I like feel safe to say about the show because it was so traumatizing for me. Really to the point where like, and I trust you, like I really haven't spoken on it in how long ago was that? In 1 year.
It's about 5 years ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
No, but obviously like I'm able to speak about it now, but it really was at such a time in my life where I had, you know what I mean? Like that put a stamp on me that I had no idea what to do with it.
Interesting.
But two things came from it, and this is rehearsed. One, it taught me that I wanted to do this thing called musical theater, and that it was possible, and that all of the facets of myself, the like triple octuple threat, if you will, had a place. It had a place, and my weird and wild had an opportunity to thrive, right? And I didn't know that at the time. I didn't even know like what theater programs were, which is so funny because now I help people get into musical theater programs, and I'm very versed in them. But what's so funny is that I never went. And also the second thing is that I met one of my best sister girlfriends, Natalie Lander. Who like I just love with my whole entire heart. And she is perhaps the reason that I'm able to speak on it, because she was such, you know, it's kind of like, and we've said this as at actually Six the Musical and being an alternate, which I'm happy to speak about as well.
Yeah.
Which is that like unless you've lived it, like there's no one else that can really talk about it. Right? It's like you can tell me all day long your opinions and judgments, but unless you actually were like in the trenches, there's no way else. It's like, this is not to be believed.
Well, reality TV is not true reality.
It's not?
No. Hate to spoil it for you who've already been through it.
Yeah. And like at the time, Big Brother and like American Idol were like the main reality shows. Mm-hmm. Like we hadn't really seen anything like this, especially not something, you know, Broadway based. And Legally Blonde, the musical, had been released on MTV. They did their pro shot. They released it. And I believe this is true to say, the reality show, it's like 8 titles long, and I don't care enough about it to remember them, but it's like Legally Blonde, the musical, The Search for the Next Elle Woods. Is that right?
MTV's Legally Blonde, the musical, The Search for Elle Woods.
Wait, I said it right?
Not the next. I guess it's not next.
Oh, okay.
You added a next.
Man, we need an acronym for that. Shoot. You know, honestly, there might be one. I don't know what it is.
Libtimtiso.
That's the actual pronunciation of it. Amazing. Great.
Okay, so limtimtiso.
Yeah. Limtimtiso.
LBLMLSF?
No.
Small f, EW.
I love it.
Okay.
Yes. So we hadn't really seen anything of at this time. Yeah. And the reality show, The Search for was essentially a Hail Mary to keep the show open, right? We were trying to find ways in this world to like keep Broadway afloat. And how else could we do it back in the day that we didn't have social media? Like that wasn't, you know what I mean?
This is when MTV still existed and
correct.
The youth cared about it. Okay.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. TRL. Joey Fatone's in my show now.
I know. Have you talked to him about like how much he did not or did influence your younger life?
I can't. I can't. But like every so often I'm like single tearing and I know that he's like, she gets it.
Well, you went on.
Right, Joey?
Yeah. You went on, you got to go on for Anne Hathaway the other day. So now you were like.
Oh my gosh. Oh, losing it. Also, I cover the nurse now.
Yeah, Angelique.
Yeah, Angelique. I have not done it in performance with Joey yet, but I did his first rehearsal with him. And the way I would like to have, please offer me a tiny trophy emoji award, because I quite literally was like,
be an emoji.
Yeah, He was like, hi, it's nice, or whatever he said, because he's perfect, and I was and charismatic and charming and my literal teenage dream, and I acted my way out of a cardboard box. I was like, hi, so Cassie, lovely to meet you. I was literally melting inside, and then we go to do like the scene, and I'm like. Is it hot? Right? And then, of course, he's learning it at the speed of light because he's perfect. And And then he like looks at me because, like, how is he supposed to know it 3 seconds after learning it? And I'm like, and then I'm like, yeah, that's it.
That's it. It was great. It was great.
Yeah. Losing my mind. Or am I losing my... Listen, the smelly cat voice is going to work for me.
I think you're doing it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the episode. All right, so back to Legally Blonde. Legally Blonde, the musical,
Yes.
The Search for Elle Woods. So you're there.
So there I
19-year-old
am.
self, and
little baby.
okay, but
I know there's so much to say about it.
There was a casting call, so obviously you got in there. You were already singing. They're not going to cast you because like they're going to teach you to sing. Like you were already singing, you were already dancing. What was like?
Well, the thing was, and honestly, this is probably on me. I was a small child. And I was on my own. I was pretty independent at that point of time. I mean, I had shot Hairspray in Toronto, and I think I wrapped that project like on my 18th birthday. Yeah. And then I did Legally Blonde like shortly thereafter. And so I mean, I'm saying this because when I went to do Hairspray in Toronto, I had finished high school like a year and a half early. And so I had been on my own for so much time. So cut to like, I'm basically like acting like an adult. And mind you, 18 back in the day is not 18 now. Like now 7 years old is the 18 that it was back then. But anyway, yes, I found myself at this audition in LA, and it really was confusing because remember, like it's hard to explain what a reality show is, especially if it's something in a model that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah.
Like the show. And so, yeah, like we went in and we danced and then we we sang. And as far as I knew, it was kind of in my mind supposed to be like a docu-series of that, which isn't wrong, of them finding like the next Broadway lead of Legally Blonde. So finding Elle Woods. I'm thinking more so it's like an episodic, or like a film version of, like behind the scenes, if you will.
Yeah.
And so when they're sitting me down and asking me questions in these rooms, I'm just shooting the shit like we are. They
didn't tell you what the finished format was going to be?
I really, at the time, honestly, listen, it's possible. I just don't remember it that way. Wow. I just remember thinking like, oh, this is so interesting. How cool. Like if I were to be a lead on Broadway, like this would have been, documented. How cool. And so when they were like, we want you to come to New York, I was like, dope. I mean, it's that's not unheard of. I mean, in our audition process, if you're doing something bi-coastally or you don't live in New York, typically when you get far enough along in the audition process, you move on along, you have to come to New York at a point to meet the team and XYZ. What was funny is that we could literally talk about this for 10 years. So cut me off at some point.
I'm fascinated.
When we got to the initial hotel, this is before we were like in the Empire penthouse. That was like the bar that Pottery Barn Teen turned into an apartment.
Here,
we were in some hotel here. I don't remember what it was. Perhaps it doesn't exist anymore. I have no clue. But it was in Times Square. I remember because we drove by the M&M factory. They put us in this hotel. You did not know anyone. We were not allowed to see anyone, meet anyone, talk to anyone. And then they came to our hotel rooms. I wish that this was a lie. They came to our hotel rooms and they took all electronics. We weren't allowed to know. We weren't allowed to contact people. We were not allowed to update people. I couldn't know what time it was. I couldn't know what day it was. Dead ass. So it was like, actually, Lena Hall, who was going by Selena Carvajal at the time, I like to use a quote that she said, which was like, people in prison get treated better than us because at least they get a phone call.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's like this, I'm actually not going to comment. Actually, I'm going to pause on this one because I'm about to share something that's going to send everyone on a Google search and I don't want it Googled. But anyway, we were not allowed to know anything. So when we show up at this initial day one, the big audition, right? At this theater or whatnot. There's hundreds of people, which is hilarious to me personally, because I'm like, what are you all doing here? Because to my knowledge, I'm like, oh, okay, they've brought me in here. This does not look like other auditions that I've done, which is typically like you show up to a casting office and there's like maybe people sitting in chairs and
you go one at a time.
One at a time. And now we're like in a theater doing full-blown performance. There's cameras, there's people, and I don't recognize any of those people because one, I know nothing about like Broadway community. But somebody brought cupcakes. Like it was such a weird energy. But then because we were waiting for so long because the show format and model didn't really exist-ish, right?
Yeah.
We're just waiting with each other for like hours and hours and hours. Well, then we figure out, we're like, wait. So like you're from New York, you literally just like were invited to come to this today. You were invited to come to this today. You flew here from middle of nowhere and you were put up in a hotel, right? So we're realizing there's golden tickets. We're like,
sure.
Oh, there's like 10 of us that like have packed bags and like been in this process now for weeks and weeks.
And the rest are basically like papering the house.
Filler people, right?
Yeah.
And so that was very strange. But of course, I didn't know how to put those pieces together. And I'm terrified. And of course, then also I'm auditioning to be on Broadway. So like so many things. And so yeah, like after that arduous day of just like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, they like put us in a car and we were finally able to like, you know, meet each other. And we go to this like penthouse at the Empire Hotel, LOL. It was the restaurant. It was like the bar, the rooftop bar. Yeah. And Pottery Barn Teen and Magnolia Bakery and Aquafina, shout out, sponsored it. And they like put cubes in places. And like from then and there, we're not allowed to know what time, what day. We just had each other and like camera people. Yeah.
How did that mess with your psyche to just be completely isolated? Because I'm always like looking at the time. I want to know what day it is. Date, like because I'm such a structured person.
Sure. Yeah.
That I guess it's very smart because they want to completely isolate you and have you focus on nothing else but what is there in front of you.
Yeah.
And then it seems like the most important thing because you have nothing else you can compare it to.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, it was so highly damaging. I think also because, you know, I didn't know these people and I already like struggled with like neurodivergence in a way, had a lot of like social anxiety, awkwardness, like, and I just didn't know how to function in a space like that. And so, especially having no preparation going into that. And like, when I say, and it got to avenues where like, they like weren't feeding us or like we like bless Lena Hall at some point when we were doing that bike episode. She was like, get off the bikes. Like no more. We will not perform again. We will not get on these bikes. You cannot film us doing one more thing until you feed us.
They want you to
point
be
blank period. Right. And a PA who was lovely finally went because remember it's a crossover of unions, if you will. And so I think that was taken advantage of. Sorry, Legally Blonde, I love it. They finally went and got like sign-in sheets and they were like, okay, we need to like get this union, like what are we doing? We need certain hours. People need to be eating food, like because they wanted certain, is the word performance? Like they wanted certain things out of us.
Sure.
And we were just lovely theater people. Yeah. And that's what's so funny about it. When people ask me about it, I'm like, everyone was so lovely and we just loved each other. We love theater. Theater is a community sport. It's a team sport. So I was like, if anything, I feel like you would want to show that off.
Yeah.
Isn't that so cool that we're all in the trenches together and we're just like being weird and silly and egging each other on for the betterment of like telling stories. And that was like not how they wanted to go about it. And so they, I think, chose manipulative ways to do that. Wow, this is a lot. And this is why I don't speak on it, right? Because it's like, it's just so much. And you're like, no, it's like, yeah. Plus, there were people, because remember, we were in like a bar. So the bathroom was like downstairs and the floor of like hotel rooms downstairs from the bar was where everybody was like, on the crew set up, and that's where all of the like confessional places were.
Yeah.
And the bathroom, and we would go to the bathroom and just like hide and just like talk to each other because we'd be like, "What's happening? This is crazy." And that was also where they would put us when we got voted off. So you would literally be like underneath the people where you were like living, and like you didn't have any of your stuff. They would pack it for you. It was so wild and crazy. It was so wild and crazy. They treated us like animals. I know.
That
I'm
sounds
sorry.
like reality TV.
I know. That was my experience of it too. Like all fine and good for people who had better experiences and had much more of a head on their shoulders and like had good, strong, stable, backing and support and things like that. Like I didn't have that.
And you can't even call friends, parents, anybody
Totally.
to get grounded again.
Yeah. No, we didn't have that because we were not allowed to call anybody.
Right.
It was
Have you
wild.
ever talked with like Tommy Bracco about Big Brother or Justin Guarini about American Idol?
No, but I want to. Justin.
Because Justin too, I've had him on. I've talked to him multiple times and
I just saw him on stage. Well, I guess it wasn't just now.
yeah. Let's put him one more time.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very stressful. Like they had American Idol, at least he was saying, has an on-site shrink.
Amazing.
On-site shrink.
Which is on-site shrink.
On-site shrink.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you didn't have that. Okay, so that traumatized you?
Traumatized me. Because
Good
when
God.
it aired finally, and I have only ever watched the show when it aired in real time. Other than that, I've only ever seen clips or people like describing what happened or do you remember this? And I'm like, I don't. But wait, what was the question? It was...
Have you ever talked with others
Have I ever talked to... Yeah. Yes and no.
I mean, because I don't think you're alone at all in any of this.
No, not anymore. I mean...
Right.
But yeah, I think at the time I had no clue, like that's what I was going to say. When it aired, I was still so young and directionless, but ambitious and hungry and was like, I want to do this Broadway thing, right? And I went to my agent at the time. She was like, here's a number. You have to do this thing called Learn to Sing. And I was like, okay, great. Cool. And I did that. And obviously it's like going okay now. But I was very confused because I was impressionable and I was under the impression when I shot the show that I was a bit of like a favorite there. Like they let me know that I was a bit of a ray of sunshine. They really liked me. So it was so damaging and discouraging and disappointing when it aired and I watched it and I was edited incorrectly as a villain, so to speak. And I've made a good career on that. Like I live to play an antagonist and I've murdered so many people in my career at this point. You met me when I was a baby Broadway stripper. Like I have learned to embrace that and love that. But at the time I was 19 years old and confused and was like, oh, is that me? And I didn't have enough of a self-awareness to digest that type of information about myself. And I'd been acting since I was 5, but I was like, wait, but I would say it would have been so much easier if somebody was like, this is Legally Blonde and the character's name is Hannah. It was so much different to say like, that's me. That's my identity. I am Cassie S. Right. To this day when which is such a little thing. And I'm glad that that's where my recovery is on the trauma of that show. But when I go to pick up food or whatever and it says Cassie S, I'm like, right.
It brings back all these memories.
Brings back all the memories. No, I just kind of but yeah, I think I almost had to compartmentalize it like that in order to get past it because that was not me. And I knew that wasn't me. But it was confusing because then people were thinking that it was who I was as a human being versus me saying, here's just a silly example. It's being like, do you like, eggplant? And I'd be like, oh, God, no. And then cut to how it made it on the show. And they'd be like, do you like that person as a human being and their performance? And I'd be like, ugh, God, no.
So they literally were just editing.
Literally just because there were no rules.
Context.
Again, there were no rules. There were no contracts. There were no, you know what I mean? Bless up.
That's terrible.
Bless up. But it was terrible. And honestly, LOL. It made for a good cult classic and that's great. And I think I've been able to finally just move past it. But at the time it was a lot to sort through because then, I experienced cyberbullying, which is why I'm not really on social media a ton these days. I found ways to make it work for me. But was so cyberbullied in person. People I got into this thing in a mall once where this group of people were You're so mean to Bailey. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I'm rehashing this, but I really have never talked on it. And they like it was in an H&M. They like pushed me into like the corner and I like hit one of the reps. Physically pushed me. Wow. And then I was in a mall another time. I was on the bottom level and somebody poured a Slurpee on my head.
Oh.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh yeah. And so that's what I mean. Like it was so confusing because there were active like people were active in their responses to it in real life, but I was portrayed as a character.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, also just like I was a child and didn't also, so I'm sure I said some really dumb stuff.
Well, yeah, you're trying to defend yourself, I guess, but that's terrible.
I know, it's yucky.
That's terrible. And then,
I know, but it made for some like really good awful TV. You know what I mean? So like that's fun.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But before this, you grew up in LA. You're born in LA?
Born and raised.
LA.
From like the valley.
I was going to say, you like turn on the vocal fry a little bit.
Yeah, like totally. Especially with my smelly cat bronchial. My broncutie voice.
Broncutie. Charcuteries. So I grew up in LA, but then when you were little, like did your family get you in performing? What did you see? What did you want to do to get you to that 19-year-old girl on the show?
I think I always was what I was. Like I think I came out that way.
You're one of 3 siblings.
Youngest of 3 with my biological parents, youngest of 8 from my father's side.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a quest.
That's a quest. Yeah, I want to say I was almost like black sheepish. I just kind of had never met a stranger. Again, like piece neurodivergence into that. I just loved like creating stories and worlds and like fantasy. You know, my home was not the warmest welcoming. And so I think I really dove into the sense of play and being alone, and also lived and loved like being in dance class and things like that. And I was such a menace.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the episode.
Then there also was like a drama class when I was little, and my older sister had a ballet class during the same like hour. And so they were like, come take this class or whatever. And I'll never forget it. Miss Barbara, we're still friends on Instagram. Hi, Miss Barbara, shout out. Come on, arts education. She taught me how to like peel a banana, like how to improv peeling a banana and turning on, like I will never forget. And she had like charm bracelets, you know, like I'm not an ASMR person, but like I will never forget it. I must have been like 5 or 6 at the time, and like turning on the invisible sinks and like the hot and the cold and being like, oh, it's so hot. Yeah. And like the charm bracelets, and she would wash her hands and like all of that sensory thing. And I was like, why do I believe you're like about to eat a banana? Like you are literally washing your hands, woman. Like, and taught me how to be instinctual. And like, we'd play this game where you would have to like change 3 things. And so you'd have to like go into the bathroom and everybody would like see you change 3 things. And then you'd come out. And so it was like these theater games, right? Where then you would have to be like alert, alive, enthusiastic type of thing about being present. And I think that was one of the first places that I learned to be present within play. And she really, like, I don't know if she like knows this either. Like she really, to this day, like when I think back to where it kind of began, I think it was sitting like crisscross applesauce at the mirror of that dance studio, watching her like wash her hands in the invisible sink, being like, that is, how do we do that? And then, you know, there was also like a little musical theater class, and I could hold my S's for a very long time. And they did like, you know, like they would like time you. Yes, exactly. And I learned that I was like pretty good and pretty competitive. And that I was a competitive dancer growing up. And then the way that acting came about is that my joke of it is like, I grew up in LA, so you're either a Girl Scout or an actor. So I was an actor. We got a postcard in the mail, the snail mail. And it was like, come to the Marriott, audition for this acting school, like, and you may get a scholarship if you're like fancy enough. So, you know, you walk up there and I'm like, hi, I'm Cassie Silva, I'm 5 or whatever it is. And they were like, okay, cool. So want to come to acting school for free? And I was like, dope. So yeah, so we would go to Santa Monica Studios on Sundays. And I met my first manager there. I booked my first commercial there.
The Jell-O commercial?
La Jell-O commercial. Yeah. I did like a little like recording for like whatchamacallit.
Oh, the candy bar.
The candy bar, yes. And I'd be like, It's a whatchamacallit. Like, I just loved it. I just thought it was so fun.
Is that out there on the internet still?
Honestly, who the freak is to say? Because it was so long ago. I don't know that one would be. I feel like that was pretty like in-house.
You got to find it and post it on your socials.
Man, it would be so. I should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go like a whole.
After I go through the PTSD and sweat, literally to this day, like it's a very rare occasion if I can post something on my Instagram feed without having it go through like multiple people.
Really?
Yeah.
So, okay. It sounds like you got a little bit of anxiety wrapped up in the social stuff and the online presence
I feel like I've learned how to work with it and around it. Like everyone's welcome at my party. Like all emotions and feelings are welcome at the party. Because I'm like, okay, everyone's giving me information. Let's go. I mean, I'm in the business of emotion and feeling. So like everyone's here. There's no like black and white. There's so much gray. There's like, it's like the color wheel. I talk about the color wheel a ton. It's like great. And it just creates a rainbow effect. So like, let's fucking go.
Like an emotional rainbow effect inside your brain?
Totally.
Yeah. What's in terms of neurodivergence and stuff, like where did you find your home? How did you find your home with people who emote, with people who are okay crying, like all this stuff? When did you realize that was for you? I mean, you were always drawn to it as a younger kid, but there's some point where as a young adult or an older teenager, who are not adults, by the way, get off my lawn.
What's an adult?
What's an adult? I don't know. When I figure it out, I'll let you know. But you were like, I'm going to do this full time. I'm going to pursue it. I want to make a career out of this. Like there had to have been some switch where you're like, this is my home.
It always was one thing, performing in any respect made the most sense to me. Like many things in my life kind of felt all over the place, if you will. But like, and perhaps it has to do with the structure and the boundary of like movement matched with music, matched with expression, and that made so much sense to me. And because I'm a big feeler, I think it gave me that opportunity and that platform to be safe within big feelings. And so, you would turn on like Phantom of the Opera and you'd put me in a pair of point shoes and give me like a friggin' cape and a half mask. And there I am like living my best life. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like that made sense to me. That was where like who I was inside wasn't suppressed anymore, because otherwise it was like, I'm too loud, I'm too wild, I'm too hyper, and at the time, there's like no studies for anything and nobody, everybody loves to do XYZ to tell themselves they are who they are, they're not. And so it was basically just like judgment. Yeah. So I just grew up with a lot of like gang, which is, hey, is what it is. But performing always made sense to me. And that was like on any level. And then of course singing made sense because I love to scream. So I would just like belt at the top of my lungs. And I think because I was so tiny, it was surprising and also like impressive, and to be honest, probably hilarious that like such a sound came out. I was like Lucy from Charlie Brown, just being like, I think the way you play the piano is nice. Yeah, and I think I always had a funny bone too.
Right.
Yeah, never met a stranger. And I think it just kind of allotted itself to that. I never questioned it. I have thought back to this as an adult because, of course, I went through a phase in my 20s where I was like, did I choose this? Like, who chose this for me? Like, do I want
choose
to
me?
Yeah, like, do I want to even be doing this? Turns out I do.
Good.
But how freaking lucky and miraculous that like I really was born into it. It always made sense to me. I never questioned it. I always was going that direction. And I think anyone that knew me at that time would also agree. Like it was like the trail was blazed, and there was like, in some ways I needed like bumpers because I was like, great, I'm going there. Whatever it is, I'm going. And people were like, oh, okay, by all means, have at it. And so, yeah, I think it was more so just about people trying to figure out how to help facilitate that for me. But I was such a bull in a china shop that I honestly don't think that until like pretty recently, like I've been like, oh yeah, oops. Hello, Legally Blonde being like a perfect example of that, So yeah, what was the aha moment? I don't know. I've had a few. Do you want to hear?
Yes.
Okay. 2 that I can think of that might be like relevant to this is that Leslie Margarita.
Love her.
I didn't get into theater till I was like much, much older.
Right.
But I did see a production of Leslie Margarita because we're both from LA. I saw her play Anita in West Side Story. And like the scene, okay, so then there's like Maria, are there enough bullets for you and you? Sorry, spoiler. Are there enough bullets for you and you? And whatever. And then she was like, then, Leslie's like, a boy like that. Well, if you have, please. She's unwell. Okay, so in the best way. And I remember feeling, right? Because I'm a big feeler. And so I was like, how do I do that? What am I feeling? I'm all the way back here. How am I feeling that? That's so wild. I want to affect people that way. She's being so thin-skinned and vulnerable and powerful, and isn't that so provocative? And yet she's just level, like she's a real human being. So like how I want to be both of those. That's so cool. And then, like, do you have enough bullets for you? And I was like, and she's like singing at the top of her, right, Maria or whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. So like, how do I get there? How do I do that? And then my first production of Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, that's the first thing that I ever did theater wise. And I was like third girl from the left, and thrilled to be doing it. I watched the lead on stage, Shannon Morney, and was like, how I do that? I want to do that. That's cool. How do I get there? Right. And so I just was curious. I would ask around. I'd be like, how do I become this? How do I get there? And then, okay, wait, because here's the kicker. It's going to be the best segue. You're going to love it. When I was doing Six the Musical, we're like fast forwarding majorly. When I was doing Six the Musical, we had a month off between like picking up on the first national. We had like just a month of like resetting things and whatnot. And I was like, okay, great. I'm employed on both ends of this. I had gone through a really rough period. I thought I wasn't going to perform again. I started to become an arts educator because I was like, I probably should download this onto somebody while I still can, while I'm still able. Luckily, I was able to make a recovery, come back, got back on stage, XYZ. So here I am doing Six Musical. We have a month off. I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm employed on both ends of this. I now am a healthy, stable human being. What should I do with all of this time? I'm amazing. So I was like, I kind of want to go to London. Okay.
Why not?
Yeah. And everybody's like, alone? And I was like, yeah, let's go. So I go to London alone. And all I wanted to do was just see shows. And so it's government funded there. Anyone that wants
shows. That's why tickets are accessible.
Because theater heals. So I go. I see like a bunch of shows. I see Matilda. And it was their 10th anniversary at the time, which was so wild because all of our Matilda kids had grown up. Oh. But they were still babies on the stage because, the roles actually cast people that are still like 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is insane. I saw multiple shows. I go to see this show and Juliet. And I'm like, okay, it was one of my pandemic albums along with Six the Musical.
This was 21?
21,
yeah,
22?
Yeah,
22?
pre-Broadway transfer, right.
And I'm like sitting in this audience and I bought like a good seat, which was affordable. And
pause for affordability. Okay.
I go to see this show and it's like just before all the originals had left. And I was like shooketh. I was like, first of all, there's like the very beginning of the show, there's a pre-show, spoiler, there's a pre-show. And I walk in during like said pre-show happening and I'm like, what's right? And so immediately I'm like welcomed into this world. And I was like, oh, I'm here. I'm sat. Right. And then I'm like, oh my God, these costumes are insane. Like they're insane. And this is contemporary and I'm recognizing the music and these performances are just like so lived in and they're so, and the representation of things and the visibility of things and the messages of like, of hope and second chances and love in all of its forms, identity, acceptance. Right. And like, that was a place that I was at. Right. And so it spoke to me in a really, really, really important way. And so I have an Instagram story that I share of me at that time. And I'm walking down the street after I've seen this production. Right. And where you the whatever it is, the soul is like ignited again. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, 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 whoa. And I'm like, this is why I came to London. This is why I came here. I knew I felt called to come here and I didn't know why. I had to come and see Aunt Juliet. I needed this. This was for me. Okay. So then I was like, I have to go again. I will not watch a lot of things twice. Right. I love my friends. So typically I'll save things for like going to see them again in a role or something like that. But I'm not typically the person to be like, let's go again. Let's watch again. Let's do this again. The only time that I could go before I left was literally like the 1 p.m. matinee the next day. Okay, and now I'm doing the 8 p.m. and the 1 p.m. matinee, right? And like that turnaround's rough boots. Okay, so what I learned later is that they had just done a schedule change. And so I had the luxury of seeing a completely different cast.
No kidding.
Because everybody had to call out because they were doing like this insane schedule. And so like the Sunday 1 p.m. performance was completely different from the Saturday evening 8 p.m. performance.
Cool.
And I was an alternate at the time. And I had judgments and preconceived notions and trying to wrap my head around that. And I was in a comeback to theater and it really changed my mind. And what I loved about it was that I learned, which is so silly, right? But in a really profound way, that there are a million ways to tell stories and that it's subjective. And so long as you feel, I always say like in my heart is where art starts. And like I felt what those people were feeling. And that was really all that it was. But the thing that I took away from it was joy. I remember seeing the ensemble and being like, I feel how much you love what you're doing. You don't look tired. Maybe you are, but like you are exuding, you are transferring like joy. And to see that, especially like now that I'm doing it, that's always like my number one thing is like how today with like, you know, the social climate and whatnot, I'm like, this is such a currency. The fact that I can tap into and transfer joy at such a high capacity and in a true, authentic, genuine quality form, right? It's not diluted by any means. Like that I can offer that to somebody, that's what you're paying for.
Yeah.
Too much money.
Joy is a currency.
Yeah. And so I was like, how do I do? Okay, that was another one. I was like, how do I do the show? I got to do the show. I don't know how. So I like email my agents. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I got to do this. Right. So cut to Six the Musical happens years later. The track comes along that I'm in now for Anne Juliet on Broadway. And they were like, would you want to? I'm like, listen, free class. I want to go learn choreography from Jen Weber. Let's freaking go. You know what I mean? One less problem. I'm like, you know, it was so iconic. Like I remember like watching the physical signature of that show and it being so different because it's so contemporary. Yeah. And also what's so great is that I can kind of like lean back into the Max Martin catalog of things because everything's recognizable.
Yeah. Every song, you know.
Yeah.
Max wrote like every major pop song of the last 30 years.
Yeah. My favorite gag now is being like, oh yeah, and it's the Max Martin catalog when I'm telling people about the show and they're like, I don't. Yeah. And I'm like, you do.
Yeah.
You do. You know who Max Martin is. You don't know that you know who Max Martin is, but if you have lived in this day and age, you know who Max Martin is.
Have you heard of NSYNC? Have you heard of Backstreet Boys?
Exactly.
90 Degrees.
Britney Spears. Yeah.
Taylor Swift even wrote for it at one point.
Literally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it does that amount of work, which also kind of makes the veil a little thinner so that it is more accessible to me. Anyway, but going back to the audition, we've gone a lot of places, but
I am with you. I'm right here on this journey.
When I went to the audition, I was like, amazing, free class. I want to learn Jen Weber's, like, please teach me all of this iconic choreography. And we did Can't Stop the Feelin'. And I learned it from the associate, Asosa, who's just like everything. And joy embodied. And I was like, oh, I know what to do. I'm just going to bring the essence of this show, which is just, you know, like hope, love, joy.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, living on the dance floor. And they were like, do you want to come and do this? And I was like, you're not real. Like, you're not real. That's not real. That's like a dream come true. That's not real. Not like cheesy dream come true, like a literal, like I really wanted to do this and now I'm doing it. Like weird. Also, I'm pretty sure that David Westreed, who wrote the book, wrote Anne after me. So I was like, so that's fine because I've been allowing you to, you know, create a character that's about me. No. Yeah, it's such a beautiful show.
It is. It is such a... So the track you're in now in Anne Juliet.
Yes.
Editor's note, we just spent like 20 minutes coughing. Yeah, so the track you're in now, did it exist, the understudy for Angelique and the understudy for Anne Hathaway and the ensemble, you've got an ensemble role, that a track that's going around it anywhere. So when did that get created? Because I don't, I think that's like kind of I would assume that Angelique and Anne Hathaway would be two different types of people.
Yeah. They typically are. I think the track that I have now, I play the role Lucy. I've nicknamed her Lucky and I'm first cover for Anne Hathaway and Angelique. And that track here in America, I don't believe like that's the trio typically for one track. That just is how they opted to do it with me and this iteration.
Like, what can she do?
Yeah, I think I really, maybe Six prepared me a little bit for like bringing different things to different tracks, but I'm so grateful that they've trusted me to kind of bring myself and different facets of my like kookiness in different ways to all three of those tracks. So like Lucky, who I play every day, I was like, what does this? So she's a player. Lucky's a player, one of Shakespeare's players. And I was like, okay, so the pocket that I feel like I could fill here, nobody asked me to do this. The pocket that I feel like I could fill here is that we need like this Shakespearean time, right? I'm like, there's no like typical classic theater stan kid. I need somebody in here who just is like overzealous, never met a stranger, smiley, like ready for action. Like when Shakespeare gives an idea, I am like first in line. So I love to offer that because I also remember joy is like one thing that I feel like I can offer to this show in its, line of themes. And so when I'm in the ensemble, I'm always just like happy to be here, easy to work with. And I'm always just like, just so starry-eyed. I'm just like living my best life. I'm so happy to be part of the play. And then, of course, Anne is great and brings in like some more groundedness and a lot of humor and technicalities and things like that. Actually, Allie Luff, who's playing Anne Hathaway now on Broadway, I did Matilda with on Broadway. And I understudied Wormwood and she played Miss Honey. So it was fun working opposite her. And now that I cover the nurse as well, when I still get to go on for her when she's Anne Hathaway, and she is just like an absolute bright star. Like, what? She's like not a correct person.
She's great.
We say that we're like in the cast, we love her.
She is one of the charcuteries because you love her.
She can be. She's a charcuterie now.
She is officially, we've added her to the charcuterie.
Yeah, she's perfect and she's an absolute dream and she's iconic in that role, which makes it so fun to understudy her and also to just like play on stage with her all of the time. And she's also just a really great human. And I love having been in the business a million years now. Those are my favorite types of people.
But you just did Legally Blonde 5 years ago. How have you been in the business a million years? I don't know.
It's a loose term.
It's a loose term.
Yeah.
Very loose.
But yeah, it's very fun to understudy her, and then it's very fun to go on with her.
I can imagine.
Especially when I'm the nurse.
I can imagine. Great. So then you were prepared for all of this understudying, swinging, dance captaining, everything, because you went into Six as were you always an alternate, or did you swing and then you became a universal alternate?
Right.
So you get to fly around and be all the queens and all the casts. So you had to know all 6 roles. Those are 6. I'm imagining I have 6 fingers on my hands. 6 hands, fingers. Yes, you had to learn all 6. How the hell, man?
Now listen, okay, so yeah, it's always a journey, and I only know how to make long stories longer. But
good, same.
I started, Six. It was supposed to open right when everything shut down for the pandemic.
Yeah, I went to final preview. That's
right, you told me that.
I was there the night before March 20th.
No freaking kidding.
Yeah, so my playbill says opening night March 20th, 2020, which my gosh. Never happened.
That is so wild.
Yes.
That's a Mandela effect. That's cool. Yes, so when we came back from the pandemic, obviously COVID had changed our, world. And so I came immediately to do some additional coverage, and they taught me Howard first for the Broadway company. And then I started with the first national like a month or 2 later.
Is that the Aragon?
The Aragon tour.
Aragon tour, okay.
Yeah. And always was kind of going back and forth between companies as they needed people. And I covered 3 queens, Boleyn, green, Cleves, red, and Howard, pink. I can do songs too. It's like you learn like it's hard to know who they are by name sometimes. So you're like, oh, the songs, Don't Lose Your Head. People are like, oh, yeah.
The songs are one thing. Knowing the songs is great. Knowing the tracks is another thing. It's the harmony.
Yeah. For
whatever character you're in for.
Well, they shift. I think it's pretty streamlined at this moment. But yeah, going into it, what was so special is that like they kind of, as I learned it within multiple companies, as I became the Universal, it was so individualized, which was so special. But yes, so I was the dance captain, which meant that I had to know all 6.
Yeah.
Of the first national, and then
but the dancing and the movement, not the singing. That's still another layer on this
wild
cake.
Cuckoo Bananas, right? Yeah. And then as I was helping the Broadway company out, the second national opened. They needed a little bit of help, and so I would kind of go between all of the companies. And then when the first national was over, they asked me to be the Universal, which meant I would take on a 4th queen. So I then did Aragon, which is the first. No way. Did that for 6 months. And then they asked me to play just Bolin on the tour. And so I did that for a leg. And that was in really interesting form. The only experience at that point that I hadn't really had was being like an on-stage full-time queen.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you did all 4 of them.
Yeah.
So there's still 2 roles. You've never gone on 4 in any situation.
Correct. Which is Seymour, white, and
right.
Parr, blue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
Park and Barkers.
Yes. Do you have a favorite?
Of any and all?
Yeah. A favorite track? Favorite?
I always say it's like choosing kids. It's like, who's your favorite kid? You're like,
I like them all different.
For all different reasons, right?
Yeah. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the episode.
I think going into the show, the one that I resonated the most with and loved, and because she was what I call my home track, would have been Howard, which is Pink. All You Want to Do. And she taught me a lot, and then I kind of outgrew her in a way. Just her story and how it sat. And so that was also really fun to let that morph into a different way of performing her. Sorry, I'm eating a mint so that I don't cough. And playing Bolin full time, I think I was able to bring a little bit of all at that point because I'd played 4. So she just was unhinged.
That seems like the most freeing role. Bolin's kind of the wild card. For all the things we know about Bolin.
Yeah.
From the Tutors.
Oh, yeah. From the Tutors.
Yes. What was it? HBO? Was that what it was? Showtime? I don't know.
Showtime.
It was one of those. Showtime. So one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was deep.
He was so cute.
But yeah, so like now, was it hard to leave 6 to go into Anne Juliet? I mean, because I know Anne Juliet was like the dream. But
I know. It's funny because I always said, I was like, I mean, I think the only way that I would leave 6 early is if I did Anne Juliet.
And it happened.
LOL.
And it happened.
It happened. But oh my gosh, yeah, I mean, I love 6. I miss it. I miss it on and off stage because I did spend quite some time off stage. But the beauty of it, outside of it, now that I'm in Anne Juliet and, many of us are moving on, and I think my original first national tour queens are now on Broadway.
Yeah.
And at this moment in time, we're like in the last week of the last of them finishing out their reign. And
their reign?
I
like that.
I think it's been really...
But didn't you guys just do like a passing of they did a passing of the crown or something the other day with the new cast coming in. Yes, they did. Yes.
Yeah, which is so... And they're good that way too. And that I think was the Queen's idea. Like the 2.0 Broadway cast, there's so many at this point. How cool, right? It was kind of their idea when the Aragon tour moved to Broadway and they took over the 2.0 cast was like, we want to do something like a passing of the crown. And so like, it's been beautiful to carve in those traditions and things like that. Yeah. But what I love so much about it is that these now are like my sisters for life.
Yeah.
So like really interesting tie to Legally Blonde, right? Where like years later, I'm in a building that's about female empowerment. I'm only with 9 other girls. And I'm like, oh, wait, this actually is great. I actually really love this. This is so much fun. And I kind of took on like a big sister mentality and goofball and took on responsibility and things like that. And now I'm like, oh, I get to like keep these people. These are like just, I call them my heartstrings. I'm like, they're just my treasured people.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways, the way that show, it's like art imitating life, right?
Yeah.
Imitating art. Is that how that goes?
Life imitates art, imitates life.
Yeah. It's like I got the opportunity to completely rewrite that story.
Oh, that's so great.
I know.
Yeah, you just totally repurposed that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And every queen I've ever met or interviewed or met in person or whatever are always such incredibly nice people, like actual people, not characters. Because I love that part of the casting process is singing and performing in front of the others, and like you're still being watched and evaluated while you're on the sidelines because you're trying to build each other up.
Yeah.
And and wanting other people to succeed even when you're going after the same role is still, I think, a pretty rare thing to have these days.
I agree. Well, I think it comes from the top. And what I will say about Six the Musical is that Toby, Lucy, and Jamie, who are kind of like the tops and creators, right? They're great people and they're cool. And they wrote it for a good reason, which of course, they wrote it in Cambridge, but it was to represent and to have fun. And so I think that has kind of trickled down. And Roberta Ducek, who is the music supervisor and literally like an angel on earth, like what did we do to deserve Bobby Doo? But she would say, and I really, really held that close to my heart the whole time that I was doing Six Musical, is that they have people lining up down the block. I mean, it's not hard, to find people that want to audition for the show.
Yeah.
People can sing in spades. What they're looking for is a good heart, and they're looking for dynamic within a group. So it's difficult. So I've learned to find people that not only can sing, dance, and act, but can be funny, which is it's technically very difficult to do. Comedy is the hardest of all.
Oh, yes, agreed.
But also can not only be in an ensemble, but step forward and take center stage as an absolute pop icon. Does that make sense?
It's pulling all sorts of different levers.
And I think you learn that. Like, one cool thing that I love about the show is that like it's 85 minutes, jam-packed. And the second act of the show is the stage door. So like at first that was so jarring for us. And I think, because you become a pop icon overnight. And so you walk out the door and all of a sudden, like you walk out the stage door and people are just screaming. I mean, I remember when we came out at the CIBC where the first national opened 6, people literally like barricaded us in and we like didn't know how to get out. And it was so insane. And like that amount of, like that will go to your head.
Even like outside of Broadway.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And so I think that's a testament to one, how beautiful the piece is and how much it speaks to people and representation, XYZ. But also, I think that's also created so many beautiful relationships in my life because similarly, and I had mentioned this earlier, it's like you can't just look at the person on the subway and have that conversation with them. But like here you are in the trenches with these people and you look at them and you're like, that was crazy, right?
Yeah.
Or like you're holding hands, pulling each other through crowds and you're like, and then you're like bonded for life, right? Where was I going with this? Yeah, like, so Bobby Doo, Roberta, music supervisor, was always like, we look for good hearts. Like we're looking for people that can be beautiful artists and performers, but also care about using the platform for good. And that doesn't mean like, I'm going to get up and be fancy. It's like, I already am a really good-hearted human being that wants to do good in the world. And we are just trying to, knowing what it will do at this point, how to expand upon that and to give that to a person that's, what's great about the show is that they don't have to cast stars.
Yeah.
So it really does bring this beautiful opportunity to cross worlds. We have pop singers and not necessarily traditional musical theater people, which also makes it very difficult to cast. But it brings that opportunity to diversify our community, even if it's just like an 11-person cast now, but yeah, a time.
It's
brilliant. And I love it.
You keep saying that you've wanted who you are is like exuding joy, and you want to give that back to the audience and all that, and that's legitimately like what Six is.
Yeah,
it's going back and making fun of all the things that need to be made fun of.
Yeah,
and bringing joy and happiness. And like you said, you don't need big name stars. You don't need stunt casting.
Yeah.
Anyone can get up there. Not anyone. The people who get up there. I won't say anyone. It is hard. Like you said, casting's hard, but the ladies who get up there, they tell these stories, and like you said, the audience, it just resonates with so many kids.
Oh yeah.
Kids, especially too, because it's getting them, it's crossing genres in a way that hadn't done that before.
Yeah. Which is important. And I think trying to keep theater alive, we kind of have to think outside of the box. But the beauty of Six is that it really came at the right time for the right reasons. Yeah. One of the things that I love to say about the show when like people get really deep about it or like, you know, it's like, guys, it's just dead queens in neon plastic. Like, it's not that deep. Like, it's really not that deep. Yeah, it really is so beautiful. I cannot believe that I got to be a part of it and in the capacity for as long as I did with that show. It will always hold a very, very close place in my heart. I
bet you'll go back in some form.
Do you think?
I'm sure.
I would love to. I love that show.
I think the show is going to be around in some form, some tour, some country.
Yeah.
You'll do like, you're going to get called to some exotic country.
Right.
And then,
oh yeah, totally. I would say my plastic's on ice. Yeah. Whenever I hear people going down over there and they need coverage, I'm like, oh guys, plastic's on ice tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, of course I would. I mean, I feel like, I became like the emergency cover for all companies. It blew my nervous system. I learned that like, you know, swings.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, like swings are the superhumans. Universals, what? I think back in the day, I would have been really, really good. I used to be so much quicker. But, you know, after taking some time off and coming back and also just being older, I did learn how I learned differently. And I just am not really equipped. So I had to work harder than I really wanted to. And also got to use, you know, Six, which I wouldn't recommend doing, you know, using Broadway shows as learning. But that's how it worked for me in all facets, right? Like in Rock of Ages, I also was learning how to do musical theater. So like LOL, say OL. But yeah, blew my nervous system. I mean, like, what even was I thinking? I wasn't. That's what I say about it.
Did you have a lot of anxiety? Did you have a lot of... Because when you get on stage, everything you seem flawless.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. Well, they used to say, like, queens don't make mistakes. I don't know if we still say that, but, or they still say that. But yeah, it is so much pressure. And I, early on, learned for myself that it was what I came to coin as, like, an elemental show. So, like, it's one thing to be able to perform it in tennis shoes, you know, in a rehearsal space, holding a thing. You know, how many like salt shakers have become microphones in my life, remotes, like you name it, it's been a microphone in my life. But, you know, you put 17 pounds of plastic constricted in a corset and heels and lights and IEMs and I can't hear and then a microphone and then 4,000 people and then who are you? Yeah. Then it's 85 minutes of you standing up there. If you fuss, if you know, go up or anything, you got to own that. That is a learning field if ever, you know, there is one to have. So yeah, especially as an alternate and with the show was fairly new. Not fairly new. The show was new. We learned how to help people learn that show. And so that came by a lot of trial and error. But yeah, I still to this day am like, I remember one time that I jumped the wrong way as Aragon, who's like front and center, and she's like, make some noise. And I jumped the wrong way and was like, I quit. But like, that's the caliber that you're at. You know what I mean? And so learning what actually is sustainable and doable was, oh gosh, it was such a learning curve because I had to figure out how to learn to simulate getting on stage with no notice. Especially like, I think I didn't go on in the first national tour. I didn't go on for Cleves for 8 months. And so, you know, I would rehearse in weighted vests, ankle weights. Conditioning was like non-negotiable. I would run things or do like heated classes, like cardio heated classes, which probably like aren't the best, but it was the closest that I could find to being like, okay, if you're going to put me in a suit of armor and put me on stage and plug my ears, like, who am I then? What am I made of? You know, and I think you crumble.
Yeah. I remember James Monroe Iglehart, he tells this story all the time of learning to do Friend Like Me for Aladdin when he was originating that. He would run that on the treadmill. He would just sing it at go full out.
That's a Legally Blonde thing too. Did
Yeah?
like Haley Duff? Was it Haley Duff? Haley Duff did that with like Hairspray or something. But yeah, it's not a bad idea. And have I? 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
In a weighted vest.
Wow, weighted vest on a treadmill, full out singing. Yeah.
It sounds crazy, but to be perfectly honest, one, I'm full out with feeling in all ways. But I will say that was like one of the ways that I felt I actually was able to feel like it was that, you know, that it was close to how it felt getting on stage with no notice. You know, it was like running on a treadmill in weight.
That has to, oh God, I'm just like crawling inside my own skin right now.
But I love it.
Because when I'm thinking like even swings like Celicia Thomas, who had to cover 12 tracks in Once Upon a One More Time.
That's nuts for me. I'm like, no. Like in And Juliet, our swings, I'm like, I just don't know how you deal. I don't know. I mean. Yeah. That's
what I mean.
And also I'm like, you know, this is going towards our union, but I'm like, why aren't they making $5 bajillion? Like, why don't they, like, what even are we doing? It's so wild. But you have to have that type of brain.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's what confuses me and stresses me out, because it's not like if I know something, or if I only have one or two other roles, then I'm like, okay, great, I can refresh those. I'll do one a night. It's fine. But when I have 6 or 12, when I get above 3, my brain is like, what the hell are you doing to me? Because it's the anxiety of like, well, which one do I pick tonight to refresh?
Right. Yeah. No, I couldn't function. I mean, I think a little bit of the difference is that 6 is principals. It's only principal tracks. And in that way, as I did it, each track, and this is just me, like I really wanted them to be, and was encouraged to make them my own, to make them something totally different. And again, I think that allotted me a bit more ease and experience to bring to And Juliet, to be like, oh, okay, I can do 3 totally different people because I just did it 4 times at 6. And I watched people do it. And I watched multiple alternates do it. Whereas doing ensemble or featured, you know, back and forths and split tracks and things like that, I did that at Rock of Ages. Go me. Like, I remember the first time that I was watching on the monitor, I was a vocal booth singer for like 3 seconds at Rock of Ages. And I remember watching the monitor and knowing where like 9 people were at once and being like, I'm invincible. Like how? My brain doesn't work that way anymore.
Really?
But I do feel like I'm so grateful that I'm at a place where it can be of service in a way. Like I started with just Anne over at And Juliet. The nurse came second. And ultimately, one of the main reasons that I, you know, agreed to sign on to take on a second understudy was that I was like, this really is a beautiful skill that I have honed from almost 3 years with Six the Musical, that I feel like could be of service to a piece that I love so dearly, and that I understand the weight. It's a comedy, but like the weight of what it holds theme wise.
Yeah. It's a standard you have to maintain.
Yeah. And there's so many principles in the show. And that's why, I mean, we get so many different things in the show. And I was like, that could be so cool. Like, because those 3 tracks that I do, like, don't cross over ever. And in fact, the nurse, when I was thinking about taking it on, I was like, I never see that track. Like, as Lucky, who I play every day, I'm always doing changes, quick changes.
Yeah.
When she's on.
You're
so
right.
like, I was like, I couldn't even tell you the rhythm or the cadence of like how those lines are said. Like I what are the lyrics? Like no clue. I really had to mount that one from scratch.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you like that better? Like do you like it better to not come in with any preconceived memory of how someone else is doing it? You
know, I have heard over time that I'm really good at imitating, and I do think that that's partially why musical theater has been good for me in some ways. I think I'm now at a point where I'm really enjoying the like origination of things, and also not being terrified of creatives. Like collaboration and artistic conversations are fun for me. But coming from a dancer background, I didn't really know how to do those things. So yeah, now I appreciate doing things like on my own and having the freedom, and thank God, like the trust that people will be like, she is weird and wild, and she's going to wait until like it's there, like that there's trust in that I'll do something and that I'll do right by it, but that it's going to take a few swings for me to get it right, like in a rehearsal space or things like that. So meaning like a basic creative process, I never really had any like knowledge of what that really was outside of like ensemble dancing. So nowadays I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. Like, just give me the pieces and I'll do the puzzle like on my own. Plus, you know, without getting into it, I do learn differently than I used to after, because, you know, I took a bit of a break. And so now I also have to go home, and it's fun for me to try to piece the, you know, when I'm not like crying and absolutely losing it, being like, how do I learn this? But yeah, also I think there's a lot of beauty in finally leaning into the fact that I've been in this a long time now. Like my whole life I've been doing this. Yeah.
You have to trust yourself.
And back in the day, you know, just to comment on like what we were talking about before, like how did I know? How did I get into it? What were the moments? It's like now I'm on kind of the other side of that where I'm like, oh, it always felt like it was there for me, and it was, and it still is. So now I just get to walk down that trail. Like it's not about me looking for like where the step is. It's like, wow, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I better do right by this, you know? And like, it's not about getting off the track. It's about like, okay, well, what's the direction? Do I want to turn left today? Do I want to go to the park? But it's all still part of arts. And that just is something that I came in with. And I'm so lucky that I've never, ever had to question that. So yeah, originating it, which is like, I was just talking about this yesterday, speaking to a group of young artists and like Broadway hopefuls, which is like, yeah, I mean, every bit, like the dream is like originating a role and like, you know, getting a Tony, whatever it is. But I think at this point, it's more so about sustainability for me. Like, of course, I would love to do those things. Great. But it's more so, I think, having not had that, like, there's no awards really for me in my like career of things, but I've had longevity, right?
Yeah.
And so the meaning of why I do this is so different now. It's not a competitive, like, I have to be the best in my career or whatever. It's like, how can I create a sustainable life that's able to be of service, not only for my own personal life, not only for getting on stage and doing that to give my cup runneth over, but also to then like turn back and lend a hand to be like, here's how we do it the right way. Here's how we do it healthfully. I don't know how we got on that, but being on the other side of like, how did I know that I wanted to do this? And being like, oh, I'm just doing this now. And how has that shaped me as a grown adult doing it? And being like, oh, okay, so maybe it's not about being like super famous and winning a million awards. It's like, how can I actually be a sustainable, living, eating, breathing person that can also then turn back around and be of service in a way, not only as a performer, which is fulfilling, but also as an educator and a model and a mentor. That feels important to me.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the episode.
I feel like you feel full stop so much full stop again that like the education piece. I just want to touch on it real quick because you found this new passion in teaching and inspiring, and I mean it's all come around full circle because like on stage you're giving back and now in class you're giving back. Yeah. Like, do you just inside? Is the Cassie on the inside just like so full and busting out of your physical form that you have to just dump all your energy on all these other people?
Yes. June is busting out all over. I think for a while it was like unbalanced. And I think that was necessary for me to figure out like, oh, I really am happiest when I have both. And I knew that when I didn't, which then created discomfort. But pain is a great motivator. And so when I was teaching and mentoring and I wasn't able to perform, I was like, wow, this is fulfilling in a certain way. But oh my gosh, at some point, I'm going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel because I'm not performing. I'm not a student. And I feel like the ego can run a lot of mucks if you're not humbled by also taking in information and being a good listener. And changing and being, you know, like there's so much in learning. And if we're not learning, we're dying. So like, I am happiest at this moment to be like back up on a stage and then also able to then, what's the way of saying that? Like, you know, sharing those experiences. I'm not really a great teacher, but I love to share what I know because what I will say is that I came from like total muggles, youngest of 8 biologically, and kind of made my way on a hope and a prayer. you know?
As
and
the
like,
black sheep.
Right. And like, I couldn't really kick my face. I couldn't really sang song. Like, I really needed all three. I really needed to sing, dance, and act. And it wasn't easy by any means, but somehow I've done it. So like, there's no formula for it. But what I will say is like, I'm always, it feels important to me to speak to anybody about it because that's how I did it. I just was curious. I just was curious and grateful. I would ask people questions. Hello, when I came back from doing Legally Blonde, it was like, how do I do this? You know?
Yeah.
Bless. And then, you know, it's like Victoria Morris, bless, hi, love you, was like, you will go to this person. You have to do a thing called singing. Come back. And I was like, okay, called that number that day, started singing. That person was like, wow, you're pretty good. You should go to this person. You should meet this person. You should audition for this. You should go to this summer program. Have you ever heard of summer stock? I hadn't. You know what I mean?
Right,
but it's just those conversations, and that's why community is so important. Oh, not that. That's why community is so important because I always say we rise and shine together. It's like, I didn't do this alone. I did not do this alone. When people are like, how do you get to Broadway? I'm like, I didn't. 1,000 people helped me get on Broadway. I am the tip of an iceberg. There are 1 million people underneath me. And to circle back to the very, very beginning of this, you are one of those people.
Shut up.
I'm dead ass because it takes a certain amount of legitimate information and care from people that are gifted enough to know how to ask the right questions and to be curious enough to not ask the same standard shit so that we actually can evolve, so that we can give people an opportunity to diversify. You know what I mean?
I do.
I just happen to have a brain that allowed me the grace to be like capable. I was given tools. I was given puzzle pieces, but they weren't handed to me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so you are now, for this generation, one of those massive tools. Oh. You are one of those massive tools. If I hadn't heard those,
tool.
You are a massive tool.
I'm a massive tool.
Yeah,
yes.
totally.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm also a total bitch and asshole and antagonist and
according to the editor.
Yeah, exactly.
The editor room, yes.
So yeah, I think that it's really important. I think the work that you're doing is really important. And I feel it is also an honor to be able to be in a community where we can look back at each other and to be like, whoa, so years ago, that still was really important. And this is what it looks like today. Because also having, now I'm in my mid 30s.
Hold for applause.
Yeah, thank you. So many people they go.
Yeah.
So many, they have to.
Yeah.
They have to. So I also really appreciate we're still in it. Go us.
Still in it.
We stayed the course. Yeah, exactly.
You are just such a great person. A great person.
A kook.
All right. I feel like we could sit here and talk.
We literally
forever
could.
But
we got to go. I probably have to cough again.
It's yes, and you've got a 2-show day coming up, and so now you know what's coming because you've listened to the episodes. Plot in 60 seconds.
Plot in 60 seconds.
Are you ready for this?
No. Oh no, there's a timer.
Well, I got 60 seconds.
Okay.
All right.
Hold on, I have to make sure that I'm not on really quick. Excellent news. I'm not.
Good.
I'm just me.
You're just me.
Okay.
2-show day. All right. So 16 musicals I have listed in front of me. You give me a number, 1 through 16. I'll tell you what musical you just chose from my list, and then you give me that plot in 60 seconds.
Okay, but if I don't know it,
then it's going to be funny. Make it up.
Okay.
These are popular musicals. You should know most of these.
Okay.
Which is really funny when you get straight actors who are not musical theater actors. It's great.
What do you mean? I'm a straight non-musical actor.
Tell that to 6.
Yeah, okay.
All right, 1 through 16. Give me a number.
11.
11
yes.
is Wicked. Go.
60 seconds remaining.
Unlimited. Okay, Wicked is an amazing 2-part movie that just came out with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, originated by Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth. Okay, it's a story about love and loss. And Elphaba is green. And she meets Glinda at school, Shiz University. And
30 seconds remaining.
they become lovers in a lost time. But then there's like Fiyero, who's like fine and fine. They sing really high and really low, and it's the most beautiful music ever. But then they have to figure out how to do like the world, which is great because then like Elphaba just like flies and defies gravity. And like Glinda wears cute outfits and great wigs. And then like they hug and they've been changed for good.
I love it.
That was not what it's about at all.
It's a 2-part movie. The movie originated by Kristen
originated Wicked. Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that
That's the opener of your show, by the way.
Yes.
No big deal.
Do you think that you said that they're like lovers in a different time? Do you think that there's romantic energy?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm in that crowd too.
Let's give it.
I'm in that
Why
crowd.
the frick not?
Right?
It already has the platform. Might as well.
Yeah. I mean, love is a spectrum.
Love is love.
That's right.
Yes.
All right. So then, 3 standard closing questions, which you know are coming. First one simply is just what motivates you.
What motivates me? What are some of the best answers that you've heard of this?
I can't tell you. You gotta. It's cheating.
I was gonna-
Money's a good one.
Never. I'm so lucky. Never. What motivates me? I want, like, off the bat, I want to say grace, legacy. Yeah.
Let's stick with that.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. All right. What advice would you give your younger self and younger people listening out now, starting out down a similar path?
Hydrate and mind your business. No, I still follow that. If the only prayer you ever say is thank you, that will be enough.
The only prayer is I think that would be enough. Be the person that everyone wants to work with the next time.
I guess so.
That's what Michael Urie told me.
Yeah. Yeah. We always say happy to be here, easy to work with. And I always question that. I'm always like, happy to be here. Maybe?
All right. Hardest question. Last one. If you could only see one show for the rest of your life, but you can see it as many times as you want, what would you see?
Say Sunday in the Park with Troy and Juliet.
And Juliet.
It's my favorite show.
I like it. I like it. With Joey Fatone?
With Joey. Featuring NSYNC's Joey Fatone.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. All right. Well, where can we find you on social media when you are posting?
You can find me on Instagram because I can function there the best possible. At Cassie M, as in magic. I didn't make that up. Magic Silva.
Is that your legal middle name?
It is now.
Okay, that's right.
No, one of my brothers in life, Justin Ramos, made that up when I had the B-Way podcast.
There you go.
Yeah.
Justin Magic. Cassie Magic.
Cassie Magic. And notice that it's not Cassie S.
Mm-hmm.
From the show. Yes, you can find me there. I am on the TikTok, but like not. Like the account exists, but like it's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the most important thing that I've been doing for years and years and years and years on Instagram stories is attitude of gratitude.
What is that?
Every day I post either a picture or video, something that like I'm grateful for that day. There is like, I used to do like it's a front facing like me. And I would say like, what's today? Happy Wednesday. Let's get in the attitude of gratitude because a grateful heart
starts with a fart.
Magnet for miracles.
Oh, that too. Miracles too. Yes.
And then you say, today I'm grateful. What are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful that I got to see you again after
Likewise.
like 8 years. How many years? Long years.
Too many years. 525,000.
We can't let this happen again.
And I owe you a hat.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Woo! I owe you a hat.
You owe me a beanie.
I really do owe you a beanie.
I can't believe you remember that.
How could I forget?
Wow.
I couldn't.
Wow.
No, never. No, please. I performed 4 Queens. I know I owe you a hat. I know three principals right now. I owe you a hat.
I'd forgotten about that.
But yes, come do the attitude of gratitudes with me on my stories on Instagram.
All right.
Yeah, it's the best.
I'm on theater_podcast on Thread, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok. Who knows if by the time this airs, TikTok will even exist anymore. We don't know. Facebook, and leave a rating and review wherever you are listening or watching the episode. Thanks to all the lovely team over at welcometotimesquare.com. The studio is beautiful, and you can go there and get your giant face on a billboard. It's amazing. Thanks to Jukebox the Ghost for the intro and outro music, and Cassie Silva Thank you. Where's my mic? There it is. Thank you so much
right?
for all of this.
Right, because I knew you, I've been changed for good.
You're the best.
You're the best.
All right, now we get to do the cold open.
Yay!
So look
Even though I'm sweating.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.